The man brought his son and asked that the disciples of Jesus should cast out the devil, and they couldn't. And the man, rather than taking his son and walk away, he stayed till Jesus arrived so he can report them. These ones have been following you for how many years? Let them go and find work. Because this can be the end result of 3 years of discipleship. They brought one devil and 12 of you join hand on top of one devil. And you can't cast it out. And you are doing disciple. You are not the kind of person we want to take into the apostolic, because you have even failed discipleship. You will notice that the books of the Gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, John were Gospels. And within those 4 Gospels, these people were called disciples. Something happened at the end of John, and these same people moved to the next phase of their life when they were called apostles. And at that point, the record is about acts, action. And the days should be over when the school of disciples have closed and the principal have gone. And you are still doing disciple. So when they were now in private, the disciples who are ashamed and disgraced in the presence of the man who brought his son, thank God he has taken his son away. His son is now well. But the disciples now asked Jesus and said, why was it that we could not cast out the devil? And Jesus explained to them that because of your unbelief, primarily, generally, but beyond that, even after you have believed, this kind, there are kinds. The power you need to heal headache is different from the one you need to raise the dead. So Jesus told his disciples, said, this kind, this type will not go except with prayer and fasting. The kingdom of the devil is also divided into hierarchies. And that's why the Bible talks of Beelzebub, that is the prince. In the hierarchies, in the spirit studies, there are, in demonological studies, there are hierarchies of devils and demons. And Jesus was putting the fingers of the disciples very early on the fact that, look, if you will be on this job, you must recognize that there are gradients of powers to contend with. There are those ones, you read Psalm 23, they will go. There are those other ones, you finish the entire book of Psalms, they are still there. You do prayer, they are there. Unless you add fasting. There are those ones, after doing fasting, you add vigil. Otherwise, they are not going. They know more Psalms than you do. So when Jesus told us about this kind, it brings to the ministry the consciousness of your preparations in dealing with kingdom agenda and dealing with spiritual opposition. And those of you who plan to go far must be ready to also equip yourself and arm yourself and acquire additional powers that can deal with different kinds. Because you have already been told about there is this kind that will not go except with prayers and fasting. After that, there are other kinds. This fasting we're talking about has even kinds of fasting. There are fasting you do from 6 a.m. to 12 noon. There's somebody who told me if it goes beyond 12 noon that the eye will turn. I say, okay. So you will only be able to deal with certain devils that 12 o'clock prayer can embarrass up to 12 o'clock. Devils that are coming to live inside hellfire, where fire is nothing. And Paul described to the Ephesians that we're talking about principalities and powers. in heavenly places. Principalities, when you come to any school, particularly in our kind of schools in Africa, where you talk of secondary school, then there is a principal. The principal is the head of his college. There are evil spirits that are called principals. They are principalities. They have junior demons under them, and nobody is asked to deal with them in their gradient except you. Angels are not asked to come and cast out devils. Angels are not asked to come and preach salvation. They don't know anything about salvation. All the angels that sinned, they were not forgiven. They don't know about forgiveness. The angels that sinned, they were put in chains and reserved. They don't know about the grace of God. So the angels cannot preach. They don't know about it. They don't have experience of salvation. A man cannot give what he does not have. Angels don't have the experience of salvation. That's why they are not given the commission to go and preach. And they are not casting out devils. You who has the mandate, you who carry the burden, you from whom the question will be asked and put, how far have you gone with your mandate? How far have you gone with your commission? You who carry a burden and you are answerable to the burden you are carrying. You cannot sleep. You cannot be complacent. You cannot be eating and drinking. You cannot be running the clergy the way clergy is being run. You cannot be running the church the way the sleeping and dying church is being run. When the whole world, the whole nations, the whole world, the whole earth is looking forward to the manifestation of the sons of God. There's a whole world of dying men who are waiting for you to rescue them. You can't be at the eater. You can't be at the drinkers. You can't be at the sleepers. You can't afford the pleasures and the leisure that are going on out there. I am extremely excited about your isolation. I'm extremely excited about your recognition of the fact that you have something special that you have to carry out. And you have to find get to a resort where you can re-equip, you can re-energize, you can reinvigorate, you can revitalize your commitment. You can refuel your vehicle because you know you are going far. The biggest crisis in the kingdom today is the complete absence of hunger. And people are running the ministry as if it's a civil service. They put pastors who are on duty in the morning till afternoon. Then they close. And then another pastor. And people are up there in General Overseer's office, and whenever there's a crisis, they just call the pastor on duty. The pastor on duty, people who are coming, people who are coming, they are not coming to see the pastor on duty. They are coming to see you. And ministry has been arranged in such leisure and pleasure, as if ministry is civil service. You have to register your name for 3 months before you can see the man of God. You are not to put yourself in that kind of arrangement. Never. If you follow those examples, you would have made nonsense of your call. The call of Samuel is an indictment of Eli. Because if Eli was doing well, nobody would call Samuel. Your arrival is an indictment of the status quo. I need you to impose upon yourselves bigger burdens for ministry. Take sleep off your eyes. Drive food off your throat. Create your own hunger. Create your own desperation. Your generation is not mine. My own is not yours. When I came into ministry 50 years ago, the generation of people I was dealing with, the sinners that I was dealing with at that time, they didn't have computer. The sinners I was dealing with in 1975. I don't know how old you were in 1975. But the sinners, listen, the sinners I've lived my life as an evangelist for 50 years and I've done no other job. The sinners I was dealing with in 1975, They had no computers. There were no cults in the secondary schools. The sinners I was dealing with in 1975 they were not on drugs. How much drug was in the society in 1975? The sinners, the Babalawos in Africa that I was dealing with, they didn't have iPad. Babalawos now go Google. The modern sinners are more complicated. The sinners you are dealing with are more complicated sinners. And unfortunately, the intensity of passion that is needed to drive ministry at them in order to be able to address their complexity is not even there, because the end time evangelist is a pleasure seeker. He goes on holidays to Seychelles and ride on yachts. And some of you read the internet and see the general overseer and his family that are going on holidays inside the yacht. I've not had vacation for 50 years. My wife is here. The zeal of God's house consumes me. It's as if Jesus is coming the next day and coming to meet me inside the yacht. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not asking you not to go on yacht if you to pass a yellow says but nobody will have the understanding of, behold, I come quickly. And there's the urgency of the unknown. I come quickly when we don't know. And you are going on yachts. People are dying every minute. I do not think we have the leisure and the pleasure that people are proposing to us and they're talking about. None of you should listen to such things. You can Google to know how much burden you carry. The population of Lagos in 1960 was 730 something thousand, less than 1 million. The population of Lagos now is 22 million. So whoever, listen very carefully. I preach with data and figures. I'm not a soothsayer. Whoever was an evangelist in 1960 had only 700,000 sinners to deal with. But in that same Lagos, in the same geographical space, you keep sending people in the same space where the population is growing, but the space is not. The people heading for an implosion because you keep packing people into the same geographical space. 22 million people are now staying in that place where only 700,000 people were staying in 1960. The population of Nigeria in 1960, when we took independence, was 45 million.